This is possibly one of my favorite OTAs that we've ever gotten in Marvel Snap. Yeah, maybe it's not the meta shakeup that people are looking for. I don't know if it's going to be enough to dethrone Thanos, but gotta say, I love seeing the Guardians get some love, man. When you first start playing Marvel Snap, it's probably one of the first decks that you build, an on reveal Guardians deck. And it just top it off with that Odin. Ooh, it feels good. And I'm excited to see them back, and I hope they actually are going to be powerful enough to maybe form their own deck or at least be splashed into a few decks. So here is all of the changes that have happened in this OTA. If you just wanted to check it out and dip, I totally understand. But if you want to hear my thoughts on every single one of these cards, we're going to break it down very quickly. We're going to start it off with Captain Marvel. This change is just sick. I'm excited to see Captain Marvel go back to 5 power. Once upon a time, this card used to be a 5/6, then she was changed to be a 4/5, and she was at the top of the meta. And I thought it was awesome because this card is just fun to use. It's an important character to the lore, and it was just kind of like building a few archetypes like Silky Smooth and all these sorts of things, and I think people were enjoying it quite a bit. And then within, I think like 3 weeks, not even, they nerfed it down to 4/4, and it just really dropped off in play rate. When a card relies on winning you the game if possible, it needs every point of power that it can get. And now that Captain Marvel is going back to 5 power, I think she's going to be a threat in the meta. I think Cerebro 5, I mean, everyone's going to be talking about Cerebro 5 after this, but it is going to be legit. It has so many options now, and I think it was already pretty decent. So excited to see what Cerebro can do. Zabu gets a little bit of a boost because you can discount Captain Marvel, and Storm, of course, you know, you flood the location, Captain Marvel can swan dive over there to save the day. So very, very excited about this. I actually, when she was a 4/5, it's when I got my first Infinity avatar so many months ago. So I'm excited to see her back as her former self. Let's go. Next up is Psylocke. What are they doing with this one? This is the most baffling change to me on this list. Maybe there's one other one, but man, why do we have to go from 2/2 to 2/1? I mean, I feel like she was fine at 2/2. Is it just like some other problem cards? Is it energy cheat? Because stop printing energy cheat cards if that's the problem. We already had Psy, who was pretty underplayed. So I don't know, man. I'm not a huge fan of like taking a point of power away from Psy when she wasn't even doing all that well. I think it's mostly because of Thanos. But man, just stop nerfing everything around Thanos and hit him a couple more times. Anyhow, maybe an increase to Ravonna because now it's got that 1 or less power condition. Maybe a hit to negative because, you know, you want to play Psylocke into negative, but then you can flip Psy and she'll be a 1/2 later on. So maybe it's not so bad there. And then, of course, the hit to Thanos. I guess he's been using her lately. Man, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know we were using Psylocke with Thanos. Where have I been? I thought maybe since Time Stone changed, but that only happened a week ago. I don't know. I find it a little bit weird. Not too fired up about it. This one gets a thumbs down for me. All right, speaking about Thanos, we got to talk about the Mind Stone. Now, this is a pretty significant change, right? So already we had the hit to Time Stone, where what it was doing was it was giving +1 energy, and now it's just discounting the next card that you draw. Definitely not as good. Now, Mind Stone is next up to bat. And we've already, mind you, like that wasn't even the beginning. We've already hit Soul Stone pretty hard. Lockjaw got hit pretty hard. All these cards are getting nerfed because Thanos continues to be at the top of the meta, which is just wild to me. But next up is Mind Stone, and will it be enough? Maybe, actually. I think this is a pretty heavy-handed nerf. Mind Stone going from 1 energy to 2 is significant. It is still going to allow you to draw those 2 1-cost cards, which, by the way, it used to just draw Infinity Stones. So it's just crazy the amount of changes this card has gone through. Thanos in general, the package of Thanos. But yeah, I think this is a pretty good change. It's a bit disappointing. I think it's going to feel a little bit weird playing Thanos and you have a 2-cost stone. Like, that's a bit of the identity of playing Thanos, is always having cheap cards to cycle. It just happens to be a very big problem in a game like Marvel Snap. So, Quinjet can now discount this. You're not running Quinjet with Thanos, let's face it. Lockjaw takes a bit of a hit because Mind Stone was an excellent Lockjaw cycle. And of course, Thanos, basically this attached to this card, takes a hit. So there you go. I'm pretty happy to see this one, but at the same time, I wish they would take different approaches to nerfing Thanos rather than mess with the kind of core identity of the Infinity Stones. So that's my thoughts on that one. Let's get to this the next one. Oh yeah, five power. Let's give Adam Warlock 5 power. That'll definitely help this card out. He's gonna definitely shoot to the top of the meta. No, I don't think so. I do not think this is actually going to change much, except potentially people try to get a little bit spicy with Cerebro. That could be a thing. We were just talking about Captain Marvel helping out Cerebro 5 now. Well, Adam Warlock introduce you to Cerebro, and maybe there's a relationship there, because you can now play Captain Marvel on 4, Adam Warlock on 5, and then you're going to draw hopefully 2 cards, which might get to Cerebro a little bit quicker. We do know that Cerebro has enjoyed card draw in the past. I mean, I've seen people play Cerebro 3 with Crystal and Adam Warlock with Bast in the past. So there you go, man. Maybe it's going to be a thing, but I kind of doubt it. I think there's going to be better options just for better power output. And there's still the inherent risk of not even drawing a single card if you're not winning that location. So, gosh, he just needs to be reworked somehow, some way. And then Pixie, obviously, you're going to shuffle a little bit more power around. And Adam Warlock getting the thumbs down, because it's not what he wanted and it's not what he needed. So he's still kind of trash in my opinion. Now this one's pretty interesting. Apocalypse has taken a hit, losing 2 power, going from 6-8 to 6-6. Now, of course, with Apocalypse, very rarely are you playing a 6-6 Apocalypse. You're probably discarding it at least once, or you're keeping it in the hand for Dracula. So it ends up being like a 6-10. Or hopefully, if you can repeat discard it, it gets up to like the 20 range, or maybe 16. So taking 2 power, is that terrible? Maybe a little bit. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, and I think it's actually a pretty legit nerf. Apoc's definitely like the discard finisher, or that kind of brings the whole package together. And I know it sounds weird, but discard has been a top meta deck for the last, I don't know, 2-3 weeks. So I think it's fine. It's kind of interesting that they're quick to nerf Apocalypse, but not Hela, that a lot of people were complaining about last week or 2 weeks ago, when both I think are kind of fine in my opinion. But anyways, you lose 2 power. So what does that hurt? It hurts Dracula a little bit. That's 2 less power that he can accumulate when he discards Apoc. And Black Knight, when a card is discarded and it happens to be Apoc, the Ebony Blade isn't going to be as big as it previously was. And Lady Sif, I think, takes a hit because the primary target for Lady Sif was Apocalypse. So just in general, her power output and synergy is still relevant, is still present, but it doesn't return as much value as it once did. So just a little bit of a change there. Overall, I think this is actually quite healthy, and I'm interested to see how it changes things. Okay, next up is the Guardians of the Galaxy characters. We're going to rip through them real quick. This buff to Rocket Raccoon, I actually think this is the biggest buff of the OTA. Like, this is just wild to me. Going from +2 power scaling to +4 power scaling, being a 1 cost where it's very easy to recycle this card and play it again. And if you just hit once, you're a 1/5 with no downside, like Martyr or something like that. So I think we're happy with this. I mean, there's synergies here, like Black Swan, making him cheap so you can throw him out. You can beast him back if you happen to miss, or if you happen to hit, then he's going to be a 1/5 in your hand. Actually, no, he's going to be a 0/5 on the following turn, and then he has the potential to go to 9 and dodge Shang-Chi range, which is fantastic. Falcon can also just throw him back if we want to try again. And then there's other synergies like Hit Monkey plays, right? We want to just dump our hand out and we can just use the Hit Monkey. That's fantastic. Even Absorbing Man, Wong, Grandmaster. There's just a whole bunch of stuff that you can do with Rocket now without having to sacrifice too much energy. I could see him just being a good card to throw in a deck that probably has a means of reading the opponent a little bit easier than maybe other decks would. I'm looking at like Daredevil and stuff like that, right? Daredevil, and then you throw out Rocket plus Groot or Star-Lord or whatever, bam! You got so much power on the board out of nowhere. Man, stick around. If anyone's still listening, I'm going to be streaming a Guardians deck tomorrow, and I'm very excited to try it out. All right, let's get to the next one. Next up is Star-Lord. Let's go. I love Star-Lord as a character. Very happy to see a buff, but it's actually the lesser buff, I would say, to all the Guardians, which I think is actually reasonable because I never found Star-Lord very bad. going from a 2, and if you hit, you go to 5, seemed pretty good. But I feel like there's a weird power creep in Snap where that's just not quite good enough anymore. When maybe back in beta or stuff like that, it was okay. And maybe it was just small collections, etc. But now we're at a point where you kind of need to be a 2/6 with that risky effect if you want to be worth putting in a deck. And that's what Star-Lord here is doing now today. He's got that +4 power scaling. I have no idea why I have Falcon as a down vote. Sorry about that. I just didn't change the graphic. But you got things like Sarah, which is fantastic. You can discount Star-Lord to being a 1, and then he has the potential to be a 1/6 when you hit. Again, hit monkey synergies, these sorts of things. Jean Grey, a great synergy with the Guardians of the Galaxy, kind of allowing us to know where our opponent's going to play, which just means high value profits here out of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is always exciting. So this is one of the lesser ones, but still interesting nonetheless. I just realized I don't have a single variant for Groot, and I only have him at the legendary border. That's pathetic. I clearly do not play a lot of Groot, my goodness. And yeah, it just probably because he's never been very good. And now he's got Surfer potential. Let's go. Let's Silver Surfer Groot our hearts away, because this could be a 3/7 if we do hit, and then Surfer could give it that +2 going to a 3/9. That's good value. We like to see it. Let's go. Maybe it's okay, maybe it's not going to be enough. I don't know. This one I'm probably the less hyped about, but still could be profitable in the right deck. You got Odin synergies, Absorbing Man. I mean, I'm going to throw all these guys in a deck and see what happens, but we'll see if Groot's got what it takes to actually be relevant. Drax, on the other hand, might actually have decent potential to be legit. Maybe I don't know. It's always hard with this guy, because if you do miss, it's going to feel really bad. You're left with a 4/5, but if you do happen to hit, that's a 4/9. It's not too shabby. But we got like 4/10s in Cull Obsidian and stuff like that, and when they are floating around the meta, it's hard to justify putting in old Drax. I know you do dodge Shang-Chi, so that is relevant, but Absorbing Man synergies with Sabu, discount them both, not too shabby. Get some high power value if you do happen to snipe. Maybe not too sure. Last up is Gamora, and she's the only one that actually loses power from her ability, but they have kind of replaced it by buffing her base stat line. So she was a 5/7 that got +5 power if you snipe the on reveal. Now it's 5/8 +4 power. I do actually think that is a net nerf. It does give the stability of, you know, if you don't hit, then it's okay. But people are already pairing this with like Daredevil. You were pretty much at turn 5 guaranteed to hit, or turn 6 even. And then you would hit and you would just get straight to that 12. This is still 12. But maybe there was on reveal synergies. I don't know. It's kind of just a whatever change. We're still in the same place, just switch around. But maybe it's better for your blob if you happen to be running a Guardians of the Galaxy blob deck, or with Odin and stuff like that. Probably not. That's not a thing. Anyways, very excited to see these changes. I think it's going to be fun, but I don't think it's going to be the most meta groundbreaking OTA. I just think it's nice to see them looking after the Guardians a little bit. You know, these cards have been underplayed for a long time. I'm excited to try them out. So I hope you enjoy the OTA. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.